flute players, this is the body of your instrument. Just like we started with the head, now we're down to the body. This is the main part of your instrument. First of all, when you're taking it out of your case and you're handling it, notice that there's this big section right here, the barrel of the instrument. That section is free of keys or rods. That's a great place to hold on to the instrument and grasp it from. That way you can be sure that you're not bending anything or squeezing anything that you should not be. And this is the tenon down here. On this end, another place where you can grasp it and hold on to it where there's no keys. Okay, so moving from this end, this is our barrel where we're going to hang on to it, all right, and our tenon. And then these are the keys. All these are our keys. And there's some smaller keys. Okay, this is a key right here. You'll notice some keys on the other side as well. All right, and all the keys are attached to these long pieces right here. These long pieces are our rods, okay? And these are particularly fragile and delicate, and I want to spend some time talking to you about these rods, okay? We never want to grab the flute or grasp it and squeeze it around those rods, okay? Part of the reason for that, I'm going to set this down carefully, is those rods are actually hollow. And so picture like a straw. They're basically like really skinny straws, but inside of those rods is a screw that threads all the way down through the middle of those rods. And so the rod itself is rotating around that screw. It's moving, okay? And so think of it, if you crimp that straw, you crimp that rod, and you've got a screw that's going through the middle of it that's trying to allow for movement, and you've got a bend or a crease or a dip in that rod, it's going to prevent movement from happening. So basically your keys won't work, okay? Another thing too, and this is why we want to take real good care of the instrument, is moisture left in the instrument can actually end up causing rust to form inside these hollow rods, and that's also going to cause movement to seize up on the instrument. So want to make sure that you're constantly cleaning the moisture out from the instrument. Now, I talked to you a second ago about the screws that are inside those rods. So I'm going to see if I can get a good angle on it here. So at the end of the rods are these round sections. I'm going to kind of, right here. Okay, that round section right there. At the end of that round section is a screw. Generally, they're little flathead screws, okay, that are right here in the end of that rod. Now, something we want to keep an eye out for is we don't want those screws to start poking out, sticking out, jutting out. Those screws that are threaded down through those rods are fairly long, but they're what keep the keys where they're supposed to be. And so if those screws start to back out over time, it can cause your keys to come off the instrument. So we do weekly maintenance checks in our program where we check for those screws and we make sure that they're not backing out, okay? If you see a screw starting to back out, let your director know, and they can help you deal with that, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the keys. Underneath the keys are these white circles. Those are our pads, and those pads are what close the tone holes on the instrument, okay? And so we want to make sure we take really good care of our instrument and that those pads stay in tip-top condition. If your pads start peeling or flaking, then you probably need to get that pad replaced at a music store. If the pads are making kissy noises when you're playing, they start to sound like this, then chances are you've got a little bit of dirt, some stickies, perhaps from playing your instrument and not cleaning it as well as you should have. So that's when we're going to incorporate some pad paper to help clean those pads. But we want to make sure that we maintain those pads, keep them free of moisture. When we're done playing, we want to make sure we swab the instrument and pull that moisture out of the instrument. Otherwise, those pads are going to start to decompose. And so the pads should generally be a white or yellowish color, and when they start to turn darker in color, chances are they need to be changed. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about the care and maintenance of the body of the instrument. So I'm going to get my swab back here. Okay. Notice again I'm holding it by that section that has no keys or rods, okay? And I've got my silk swab here. My silk swab has got this nice long line on it right here, and it's weighted at one end. So this end is actually heavier and thicker. We're going to drop that end down through the instrument until we see it pop out the other side. And we're going to gently and slowly draw that swab through the instrument, allowing time for any moisture to soak into the swab. At any point in time, if you encounter resistance when you're swabbing your instrument, don't force it. Don't pull harder. Back out the other direction. So, for example, if I'm swabbing my instrument and it gets stuck right here, instead of yanking harder, I'm going to come right back up here and I'm going to pull it back out in the opposite direction that I was going in. This is your body.